you, Mr Chair. Well, I wanted to address clause 14 in the bill, which is about experience and risk rating. Experience rating and risk sharing in respect of the work account. And what it says is that such systems may include no claims bonuses, high or lower levies and claim thresholds. Now, proponents of this amendment will argue that it provides employers with an incentive to keep the claim numbers down, and that's what we've been hearing from the previous speaker. But unfortunately, keeping the claim numbers down is not necessarily the same thing as keeping injury numbers down. Experience rating has been criticised on the basis that it gives rise to the likelihood that employers will seek to access the benefits of the experience rating system by encouraging workers not to lodge claims or to disguise workplace injuries as non-work injuries. If experience rating is also linked to the total cost of an employer's claim, this will give rise to the likelihood of undue pressure of being placed on workers to return to work. Now, during the select committee process, we did hear from people that actually, when we did have experience rating, and the evidence from then, from the 1990s and from overseas, indicates that experience rating is a crude tool that cannot accurately reflect the safety performance of employers or improve their performance, and can lead to pressure being applied to workers to not report their industries. The questions about whether financial incentives work in improving worker safety. And during the select committee process, we asked about this, we got information about it, but the Labor members are not satisfied with the answers. We would draw attention to the stock take, to a current consultation being conducted by WorkCover South Australia, who are reviewing their penalty bonus system. And the authors of the discussion document worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers to gain a better understanding of their system, found that, Mr Chair, there were only very weak links between the bonus penalty rate and claims outcomes. No evidence was found to suggest that the bonus penalty scheme has delivered better health and safety outcomes for workers. And they also conducted the literature search and concluded that the majority of findings in the literature review were negative towards experience rating systems. Also, studies supporting experience rating tended to be less robust than those against. And so, as I said, we heard significant number of submissions about the concerns around experience rating. And if we go back to the last time that we had this kind of provision under legislation in New Zealand, we have to go back to the 1990s, and we do have to go back to when the last national government had that kind of provision under private insurance. And the experiences were pretty grim, actually, Mr Chair. The experiences were pretty grim. Submitters, and what we heard from our experience and from people that were involved in that at the time was that, actually, it was pretty inevitable, actually, because the profit incentives overrode everything. They overrode who was covered and who was responsible, and workers got caught between those arguments, and there were many instances of spurious rejections, and one because they were on the job and they had to try and prove it was on the job or was outside of the job, and another where workers had to jump through a range of hoops time and time again, and many had huge battles getting their claims heard at all. And so, if we look back to that process in 1990, and I'm trying to find as I speak here the claims from the national government that goes back to the 1990s about what they were saying about experience rating and what that actually meant, and how it would, and this wonderful nirvana that we would have where, there was, workplaces that had lower accident rates would somehow have lower levies, and those that didn't would have higher levies. Well, that didn't happen, of course. Mr Speaker. The submitters, as I said, were, Mr Chair.
Call Alan Peachy.